Heyo, welcome to the Industry Idiots podcast. Today with Sven. Hi, Sven.
Hi. And also Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hello. Okay. What's up, dude? How you been? How's life?
Life's great. Life's amazing. I've been in a 2-day flurry of constant gaming.
What have you been gaming now, my friend?
A couple of things. Most importantly, the 40 hours of The Sims. Well, not quite. But this was equally intense.
What? No way in hell did you play The Sims.
No, I actually played a lot back in the day, but not
back
anymore.
in the day as a little 3 cheese high, as you say in German.
Architect game.
A what? 3 cheese high. In German there's a saying that's called 3 Käse hoch if someone is small. And
God.
it literally means someone is as high or as tall as 3 cheese wheels stacked on top of each other.
Okay, Mr. Cheese high. Cheese high. Actually played most of the time because of like faking being an architect. Never really played the life simulation part, just was building constant buildings and stuff.
Yeah, me neither. Who played a life simulation? I don't know anyone who did that.
Well, the people who like to drown their Sims in the swimming pool or set fire to everything and then watch them die in despair and let the Reaper come and take them.
Well,
yeah, very lighthearted beginning to today's episode.
I wouldn't necessarily say that this is playing the life simulation aspect. This is just sandboxing around with how to murder people, which of course we did as well, but you know.
Yeah.
Classic. Well, so what did you really play?
Yeah, to actually not bullshit. Played 2 games this weekend for the first time, actually. One was Prey from 2017. The other was Titanfall 2 from 2016.
Titanfall!
And I'm a big fan of both of them, but even more so on Titanfall 2. And I'm just incredibly mad that I missed out on the release when the hype was like super big around the game. Or was it?
The disaster. We summed it up the other day, right? With our one sentence. And of course, we're going to go into detail. But the one sentence was the Titanfall team or EA, they failed catastrophically with marketing, monetization, like no influencers, no the business model. The release window was terrible. You can tell us more about that. But
yeah,
one thing wasn't terrible. The game.
The game, yeah, it's fucking fantastic.
Has the best fucking satisfying mech and movement player controller in the history of player controllers, and yet it was kind of, faded into nothingness during the release window.
Thanks, Call of Duty.
JD on Twitter posted something that said exactly that earlier, where he's like, a success of a game or a failure is not just through one thing, not because of the game loop, not because of, it's an amalgamation of all the things coming together, something that cannot be reproduced later because it's just specific to this time frame.
Yeah, for sure. Well, man, I'm having the time of my life with this game. I'm not even through it fully, like maybe halfway through, 4 or 5 chapters or designated areas, thematic areas, and holy shit, it's already close to being one of the best shooter campaigns, if not the best shooter campaign I've ever played. And I hate to speak in exaggerations and superlatives and stuff like that, but holy shit, it's so well made.
What's special about it? I've played a lot of Titanfall 1 and 2, but only ever the multiplayer. So please enlighten me about the greatness of the campaign.
Well, everything from the multiplayer perfectly translates into the single player as well. Everything of the smooth controls, the player character, the wall running, the sliding, the constantly the mid-air jump, and just everything going so smoothly into each other. And like the pacing is perfect and the animations of everything is perfect. The feedback feels perfect from the weapons and everything feels so satisfying. If you do melee with a Titan and punch another Titan, it's like
Pacific Rim.
Such a feeling of empowerment. Yeah, it's basically you participating in Pacific Rim. Not sure if there are going to be any big aliens later on. I haven't seen anything of the second half of the game, but yeah, one thing I really noticed is like the amount of polish that went into every aspect of it. like the transitions from being a ground soldier and jumping into the Titan, and no matter from which angle you are doing, they thought of that, and they have a unique animation of entering and getting into the Titan and the mech from basically any angle. If you jump on it from top, it opens a hatch on the top and you jump in. If you approach it from the front, the Titan grabs you and puts you in the front, and like they have accounted for everything, and everything is so smooth, and I'm incredibly hyped about the overall feel of the game.
Same, dude.
It's so well made. And then the levels, holy shit, the set pieces, everything.
Yeah, the Titanfall levels are pretty, like, that's always the number one thing that game designers or level designers mention on Twitter. The moment they're asked, what are some of the best levels ever made? And everyone is always immediately, Titanfall 1 and 2, the level flow is without comparison, which is true.
Yeah, especially in the second.
Yeah.
The first one didn't have so much of a single player aspect. I think there was only like AI scenarios. I'm not sure. Didn't play it as much because my PC back in 2014, I think, or 13 couldn't handle it as well. So wasn't a great experience then, but playing Titanfall 2 campaign, each like distinctive area feels like this monumental set piece. First being in this underground factory that is assembling these test labs for robots, and then later on with the second area where you go back in time basically and use that to maneuver through the level similarly to the Clockwork Mansion and stuff. It's just so well made. Each area is like has its own distinctive gameplay feel to it, and what you do, and different facets and aspects of platforming through the level, movement through the level. It never gets old, and it's so well paced. I'm just a big fan.
The best thing about the levels is, I would argue that the best thing is the movement flow in the verticality. I mean, so rare that games are using the vertical space in a actual way that fits the player controller, and where you realize that yes, this space was created in, like, the two teams were working closely together. The game mechanics, player controller works perfectly with the spaces and uses the entirety of the spaces, and the spaces use all the mechanics available to them. Because if you look at games like Call of Duty, the current one, where Warzone, where there's definitely a lot of verticality through parachutes and all that kind of stuff, they don't use this verticality really. If you jump off a building, all the balconies are essentially locked off, or you can't really go in, or there's only ground floor access in most of the times. Some of the areas have some cool verticality, but it's not even comparable to the level of flow that Titanfall is offering in terms of traversing the level.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the flow of everything, and seeing that most of course, there are dedicated sequences and sections and hallways where you are supposed to be confined to either being ground soldier or a Titan. But at least half of the game is giving you, the player, the choice to switch between whatever you feel like is more enjoyable to you. And the environment accounts for that. All the metrics, all the scale, the width of all the hallways, the heights of all the hallways account for you being able to either move through it with a Titan or move through it with a soldier. And that's just incredibly well done.
And was a pleasant surprise for me, because I don't enjoy the mech gameplay. It's great and it's satisfying, it's very well made and it's cool, everything is awesome about it, but I'm just not a player who enjoys this sort of, meching around in heavy machinery.
Meching around.
Yeah, I just wanna do crazy Quake stuff. I played a lot of Quake as a kid, and I think Titanfall could have been, or is, in my mind, a spiritual successor, at least, to crazy Quake movement and gunfights.
Yeah, from the tempo and speed of everything, for sure. I can see that, yeah.
And have you watched some of the professionals or some of the very good players play this game? How fast they're going through the...
Not yet.
You have to watch this. Imagine Spider-Man swinging through Manhattan in the Spider-Man game, in the new one. This is how fast they're going through the levels.
I was already imagining playing the single player game that I for sure want to watch a speed run of this, because it's destined to be speed run basically with all the mechanics. But they're probably in the competitive multiplayer, and then mastering the wall running and jumping and stuff. That would probably be, I can already imagine that being very impressive.
Yes. If everyone out there who's listening, if you haven't watched people speedrun or abuse movement mechanics in Titanfall, give it a go. It's really worth a look, just to see what is possible in a first-person player controller action combat environment.
Yeah, and so much of it is also thanks to all the little nuances like VFX and sound design in the stuff. When you call a Titan from the sky, it smashes to the ground. It just feels so well. It's so empowering and so mighty, and
their player fantasy is completely fulfilled. So satisfying.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
VR Titanfall GIF.
Oh yeah, that would be.
That would probably make people vomit.
At least for the mech, but I can see it. But for the fast-paced wall running and jumping, and not sure.
And depends on how it is made. Remember when you put on human mode in Google Earth and you could fly around with your arms like Superman? It wasn't nauseating at all, right? So if they somehow manage to replicate authentic air movement, I'm sure it's possible. But it's going to be a hard challenge.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
But man, I'm really looking forward to the rest of the game and what kind of set pieces are gonna be there. I'm already a big fan. So yeah.
Nice.
Big fan. Yeah. So what have you been up to the last days, the last weeks? Played anything?
It's still
or mostly spent cycling through the woods.
It's still the industry summer splash. So I'm still on vacation. I'm going through the forest every day. Like I get up early in the morning, very early for my usual getting up. So it's like 6 or 7 in the morning, and I take a morning walk, and then in the afternoon, after a healthy breakfast, I go cycling. And yeah, it's a really, really nice change of pace of my life currently. But it's almost over. Almost back to the
almost over now.
to the game dev life.
Back to civilization.
I mean, game dev life didn't really stop, right? Even when you're on vacation, you play Magic on the laptop, or I played a lot of VR with my family because I wanted to show my mom and dad, since they're typically
how it's like
50, 60 years old, right? So they don't really have access to this kind of technology, and they don't even know that it exists or not aware of its existence, except by me telling them how cool it is. So I brought the Index and I've let them play a lot. And
did you turn them into VR believers of the future?
Well, my mom definitely. I put an Index on her, and first she could just walk around in some Steam VR environments. And of course, I pulled out the classic, the Beat Saber. And the moment I put that on, my mom is very sporty. So she goes jogging every single day of her entire life. She went jogging. So, or running, as you say in English, I would say, I think.
Yeah.
So she's very sporty, and she loved it. She put it on, and like 3 hours later, she took it off, and it's like, what the hell just happened? Why is this so cool? This is amazing.
She spent 3 hours without a break.
She's never played anything really. Of course, some Nintendo here and there, or maybe a PlayStation game here and there. But it's her first. And after 3 hours, she was already able to 95% hard tracks on Beat Saber. And that's really cool.
Man, it's so cool to see the reaction to the technology and the games behind it. My parents had a similar reaction. My mom went fully into it, and my dad was like super doubting. And said, okay, you can play around with it, do whatever you want. And then he put on the headset and was constantly saying like, oh, that's crazy. Oh, what's that? I've never imagined this to be anything close to reality. And he was just mind blowing and spending so much time. I showed them Half-Life Alyx, of course, and Beat Saber as well.
What did your dad play?
Both played Beat Saber first, and then after they got accustomed to all the headset feeling and the controllers, then instantly into the first level of Half-Life Alyx. And then when they were standing on the balcony, they spent like half an hour on this balcony to just fiddling around with everything, looking at everything, and trying to I don't know, interact in all those possible ways with the environment, even some ways or methods I wouldn't think of, for example. So it was really cool.
Do you have an example? Do you remember?
Yeah. They were trying to get off the balcony and trying to get down to the street and stuff like that. And I, as a player and developer, knew that I can't reach that down there directly, but they were constantly trying to achieve that because they were so interested by the people running around on the street and wanted to interact with the people on the street. And of course, they were the first move everyone, I think, does in Alex is grabbing a bottle and throwing it off the balcony.
Yeah.
It's like I saw it in every replay, every live stream, and every playtester who I've seen.
To be fair, the first thing they do is try to drink out of the bottle.
And then they throw it away. So good. It's just, but Beat Saber is really doing a great job of selling the fantasy of being in VR. So accessible.
Yeah, funnily enough, because maybe because it has no controls, but there's no controls. You swing the VR remote and that's it. There's no buttons to be pressed. There's nothing to be done except hit the notes with your lightsabers. And that works with every generation.
Do they have additional expert content or mod content for it that requires you to use different buttons on the thing? For example, pull the trigger, because you don't have to pull the trigger. So it would be interesting to see introduce different boxes in between your swing where you have to pull the trigger or not.
Good question. But the thing is, I mean, the beat maps have to be created, right? I have a lot of custom songs installed, so do you. And these beat maps have to be created. So every single mod that is added that says, okay, now we have trigger interaction or we have additional notes. There's some 360 maps as well. That means, of course, that the modders have to make their beat map for this specific combination of mods. And that, of course, makes it harder. Or just, I don't know, less frequent that you see any crazy different maps than what you're used to.
Would be cool if they would be introducing new mechanics with every music pack they're selling, because recently they just released this new Linkin Park music pack for Beat Saber, like officially branded Linkin Park music. And with that, they could have introduced new elements to maybe bigger or wider boxes or something like that. But maybe the success is because it stays so simplistic and it's just...
Yeah. When I show this game to my parents, I'm happy that the game is as simple as it is. You know, the mastery comes from player skill and not from character progression, and that's great. You just learn the mechanical handling of the sabers for the tutorial is like 10 seconds, and that's it, and then you're good to go. I think it's great that VR has games like this to offer.
Instant onboarding.
But we need more AAA VR games. I know there's like 7 or 8 in the making. So when I was browsing what companies are currently doing their portfolios and whatever, and I saw a lot of Ubisoft buzz about a AAA VR game from Ubisoft in the works, stuff like this somewhere. And we will see. We will see how that goes. What comes of it.
Yeah, I think we talked about recently or a couple of days ago if Bethesda, because their portfolio is already turned a little bit into VR titles as well, with Doom VR, Fallout VR, Skyrim VR, if they are tailoring the next upcoming, whatever it will be, Elder Scrolls, towards virtual reality from the start as well. Do you think they're going to do that?
I hope. They have a lot of things to fix first, right? Their engine is very... in die Jahre gekommen, you say in German, so it's old.
Come of age.
Yeah, it's clunky and it's not up to par anymore. But at least the systems that I have employed in the engine, I mean, an engine is just, you know, a structure to make your code and your assets work together. But what I mean is that how their physics system is built, it's tied to the frames per second, and that of course is a no-go. If you put your frames to 144 hertz in Skyrim, then the physics go crazy. Like you cannot do anything anymore because the game doesn't work. The cart opening at the beginning, it just spins out of control and flies through the map. You can't interact with levers or open bridges or doors or whatever. And they need to fix that. They have to go with the times. People are like, the wide variety of gamers are now at 120 hertz. Many even are at 240. Like all the competitive games from Fortnite to Counter-Strike, they're all using 240 hertz monitors now. And I don't see there being any space for 60 hertz or 60 FPS games in the PC market. So they need to fix those first. And when they have untangled all their physics issues and all the classic Bethesda style bugs that come with their games, then I think they have room for VR. And I hope they do.
Shenanigans.
Yeah, I hope they do VR stuff really, because we love Skyrim VR, right? I've you're now part of the Skyrim VR religion after you've installed all the mods from that I gave you.
So hooked.
So it is amazing. It's really amazing, but they need to do more themselves. It can't be the case that I have to install Skyrim, then I have to do ini fixes for 5 hours. So I write custom ini commands to make the game playable, then have to install 50 mods to even get an acceptable VR experience.
Yeah.
But their game, like imagining something like Skyrim in co-op with your friend, maybe up to 3 friends, going through this world, all chill, not in MMO style, but relaxed, discovering and immersing yourself in the world and interacting, like reading the dialogue, and it's, sitting there with your friends in that tavern or in that cave or whatever. This is the dream for VR, or my personal dream at least.
Yeah, I can for sure see that coming in the future at some point.
Dude, you and me playing Skyrim VR together would be so dope.
What's become of that Skyrim Together mod? Somehow went into, I don't know, not being finished?
I read up on it the other day. Mainly, yes, it is finished. It works. But it works pretty good, actually. But the thing is that you get out of sync often. If you do quests that are related to your class or whatever, or if there's a specific loading area or something, then you are not in sync anymore. And also you need to have these exact same setup of mods and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Not the mods that do visual stuff. That's fine. You can do whatever. But everything that touches scripts or changes behaviors, both players need. And it's only for Legendary Edition, not for VR.
Oh, damn it. I was hopeful to at least trying it out.
Yeah, me too.
To get a feel of it.
Just, that would be so cool. And that's actually something that would be cool to talk about. Why aren't VR games giving you a body? Because we have Vrick installed, VRIK, which gives you as a player a body in VR. And it works fantastic. You have legs, you have pockets on your body, you have arms, you have everything. So when you have your weapon and you holster it by putting it in the sheath, in this sword sheath. And that's amazing. Why is same with Half-Life Alyx? Why does Half-Life Alyx why don't I have a body? Why am I floating hands?
Well, that's a good question. I think I recall one of the Valve developers, I think it was specifically Robin Walker in the Game Maker's Toolkit, Notebook podcast, where he was talking to Ted Price about the design of Half-Life Alyx. And they were also touching on why there were no arms in there. And I think the bottom line was kind of that a lot of playtesters were put off by seeing your arms and not being able to see through them. And then they get like interwoven with the arms getting that right, that the arms not become spaghetti basically, was the main challenge. And also visually it wasn't what they were.
But come on, if a Skyrim modder can do it.
Yeah, I don't know. It would be cool for sure. For Skyrim, it's perfect. I'm not really missing it for Half-Life Alyx to be immersed, honestly.
Because the hands are so well made. That's true. Yeah. But sometimes, because the thing is, it does just add another layer of immersion. Because many of what makes VR feel great is things that you don't necessarily notice, except if they're missing. So if you're playing Skyrim VR with this mod installed, VRIK, then you look down and you see your feet where your feet are in real life. And your body is like matched to your body in real life as well. And it just makes so much sense and it feels so natural. To see your arms, to see these pockets where you can put things in, pull things out. Same with Pavlov VR, like pulling the grenades or the smoke grenades, flash grenades from your chest. Like they're not in an inventory. You don't need to open a menu. You pull the grenade where it's stuck on your vest. And that's what I would be wishing.
Yeah, the feeling of it is for sure great. The thing is, for Skyrim VR, it took me at least 20 or 25 minutes to configure the VREC exactly to my height and arm length and stuff like that until it felt right, and the head position in front of the body and how high it was above the body, so it felt like completely natural. Yeah, and I'm not sure if a lot of people would like to spend so much time that are not hardcore users like we are to configure their body for 20 minutes until it feels right, and most people would just I don't know. It's easier to just have the hands and let people go with the game, you know?
Depends on what kind of headset you have. I mean, I'm always assuming people always have Index just because I have one, but of course that's not the case in reality. But if you're using the Index, then the Index, of course, with its 2 base stations who are also infrared cameras, they can just map the body onto your body because they have a perfect imaging of your body. So that's easy peasy. But once you go to headsets like the Quest, you know, that are just solely working.
The ones with inside out, yeah.
Exactly. Solely working on inside out sensors and not with sensors that are aimed at you, then of course it's going to be hard to configure.
That's one aspect as well, I agree. Yeah.
Or maybe you could train it, you know, have something like you turn on the thing and then you click, okay, configure my body. And then it just tells you to walk around and duck and lie on the ground and I don't know.
Or touch certain areas of your body and then now touch your right knee and then you move your... Well,
yes, exactly. Let's just keep it at that. This is a industry positive, family friendly podcast with slight swearing. So let's keep it at
slight swearing. Yeah.
Training the program to completely map your body shouldn't be too hard. And I do agree that it's very clunky to configure VRIK because you have like 20 sliders. And one slider changes the world size, your arm length and your lower arm length.
Yeah, one thing being off.
Yeah, and that's weird. And it was really annoying to configure. I agree with that. So there needs to be a better solution.
But once it's configured, it's the best.
Yes, it really is. It makes a world of it. There's 2 things that seem so small but are so amazing in terms of immersion, and or 3 things. One thing is the body. Second thing is huge trees, because the trees in Skyrim are like notoriously small. And if you are in the forest in real life, you can't even see the leaves. You can only see how's it called? A tree stump.
Yeah, especially for pines, like big pines.
Exactly. You can't. You have to literally look into the sky to be able to see any needles. And having a mod that just enlarges the trees in Skyrim changes the immersion like tenfold. And then third of all is the speaking. Dragonborn. I think the mod is called Dragonborn Speaks or something, or Natural Dragonborn, where you're sitting or you're standing with someone and his dialogue pops open and you can read the answer you want to read.
Yeah, read it out loud.
And then he understands. And that's just, once you've gotten used to it, it's very immersive and cool.
I still haven't gotten that one mod to work yet. So I still have to.
Oh, we need to get that fixed.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I will for sure. But to touch on the one thing you mentioned before with the bigger trees, I was always wondering if they actually went the distance and made everything else look a little bit bigger as well. Because recalling playing Skyrim on PC like 10 years ago or 5 years ago, when was the last time? I don't know. Everything feels much less big, I'd say, and much less huge. Same for like all the, how do you say it, all for the interior stuff. It all felt much smaller and not as grand, and the mountains didn't feel as grand. And now I'm walking in there and it looks like a huge ass mountain. To be honest, I'm not sure, did they put up like multiply the whole game world by 1.5? I don't know. I
think that's just VR, to be honest.
Yeah, but I guess so.
Because when I spectate someone playing with the VR view on my pancake on my flat screen, and they are in the Index, and I just see the VR view, then it's the same feeling that you just mentioned. It still feels small. I think that's just the 2D world. And when you're inside of it, then it suddenly is this amazing experience.
It's the same with the focal length and the fisheye thingy phenomenon, that when you put a fisheye camera next to something, it's huge, and the rest looks like it's 20 kilometers away, but it's actually right there. Yeah,
and also linked to your field of view settings for sure. Now that you mention fisheye.
True.
So,
damn.
Man, I would love to see a VR co-op Elder Scrolls 6.
But bigger trees also have another valid reason why they exist, if the engine makes use of it, to block off stuff in optimization reasons.
Hey, occlusion culling.
Such a huge world like Skyrim.
Yes.
Which I just noticed again when just strolling around. Damn, that game was already pretty big. Had it smaller in in remembrance, so in my memory.
Yeah, I'm still amazed. I can't even picture how they managed to release some. Back then, I was still just a gamer, right? How many years has it been? 11, 12 or whatever? Or, no, it came out 11, 11, 11, right? So it came out in 2011.
9 years ago.
So 9 years ago. Back then, I was, how old was I? I was a 16-year-old kid just gaming. So I didn't think of who was making games or how a game's made. I was just gaming and enjoying it.
And being a stealth archer, of course.
Yeah, of course. But nowadays, if I think back of this was a monumental achievement, releasing a game this vast and on that hardware back in the day.
Yeah.
Really amazing. Really. God damn. I miss it. I miss experiencing Skyrim for the first time. Even with its flaws, with the combat and everything. Even though the combat is a million times better in VR.
And that's the cool thing with some games, that they are still able to blow one away, even with new games coming out. Just look at me playing Titanfall the first time.
Yeah.
Like 3 days ago, and being a complete fanboy, even though the game is already 4 years old. So it completely stood the test of time. And I'm now a fan.
Wonderful. So let's hope I just don't understand. First of all, monetization. What did they think of? Okay, we're in the time. Like, imagine how many years was it when they released it? Like 4 or 5 years, 3 years back, 4 years back, 2016, 17. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm. Something like that.
That was the height of free-to-play games. There was League of Legends everywhere. There was Overwatch. Okay, Overwatch you had to buy up front, but also had like loot boxes, microtransactions. All of these kind of games were everywhere. And what do they decide? They decide to release Titanfall 2 1 month after Battlefield and 1 month before Call of Duty.
1 month is even exaggerated. 1 week after Battlefield and 1 week before Call of Duty.
Yeah, thank you. There you go. 1 week in between the biggest action shooters of our decade. They released the Titanfall IP with no marketing, no free-to-play model, no monetization or skins, and no influencers that they bought. So they just completely... And they had this huge scandal going on still, where people were still salty from the Star Wars things, and they were still salty about all the other shady stuff that EA was doing at the time.
The EA bad train.
Yeah, it was at the height back then. And then they decide to release this game in that specific window. Oh, man. I'll never forget. This could have been Apex levels of hype. If they did a release model like Apex did, then Titanfall would be one of the biggest IPs now, I'd say.
I'd still say it's pretty big, but there's a lot of missed potential just from when and where they position this game and how they position it, for sure.
Yeah.
Now that you mention Apex, it's so weird to see all the content and assets from Titanfall that are, of course, making an appearance in Apex as well. When you played Apex first and now play Titanfall for the first time. And then you recognize all the weapons and a lot of the structures and
and some characters even, yeah.
Characters, the drop pods when some enemies drop in are not like it's also reused. It's so cool to see.
And it's pretty smart. That's how it should be, right? Save work time through
especially if you set it in the same universe.
Yeah. Is that the case? I didn't know that.
And it makes, it's set in the same universe.
Cool.
That's why they get away with it.
Why is there no Titans in Apex? I don't even know. I haven't played Apex.
Maybe they're gonna make one of the characters, one of the Apex Predators, or how they call one of the legends, a Titan. Or some guy who has as a special ability get into a Titan for 15 seconds. Similarly to one of the characters in the latest Borderlands 3, also has the ability to transform into a Titan or like a mech machine for a couple of seconds and then jump out again.
Mm-hmm. I wonder why there isn't... Okay, there's no AAA VR games, but I wonder why there isn't any mech games. That just seems like it's the perfect thing. You sit in this...
One.
Is there one? Okay.
Wolfenstein Cyberpilot, which I think is in the...
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I think it's came together with Youngblood, but it's a standalone experience, 20 euros or something. But they released it in the same time frame last year.
Okay, I only have one question. Do you play with a controller, or do you interact with the actual sticks and buttons inside of the mech cockpit?
I can't say.
Probably the first, and that's why it's not well known. Because this I'll never understand. People releasing, or studios releasing VR games, and they don't use the VR interactions, and you have to play with a controller.
One way would be to simulate the realistic cockpit, for sure. Same for flying games or space games. The other way to go would be that your arms and your arm movement simulate the arm movement of the Titans themselves. For example, the right machine gun on the left.
Oh, like in Pacific Rim?
Yes, like a Pacific Rim. Left side, that could be the sword or a rocket launcher or something.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then just your view is being the cockpit view, and you say have this heads-up display-ish thing. That could be one way to go. The other would be to really be this hardcore simulation of, okay, I'm using the joystick to move left and right and have to use my in-game hand to move the joystick.
Yeah, that's what I would think is the best method of interaction. If you think about mechs being the classic mechs that are pretty like static, where you're sitting in this cockpit and you see everything, and the mech is just 2 times the size of the cockpit. And then you have 2 hands in front of you, and you physically grab the joysticks and press the triggers to shoot and that kind of stuff. I think that could work. One is running, one is turning, if you think of classical mech games. But of course, if you go towards a more Pacific Rim style interaction where they can swing swords and jump around and fly, maybe, then your thought there was really interesting.
Play the cockpit or play the character.
Like super realistic. You're in the cockpit, just like in Pacific Rim, and you have a display or a huge window in front of you where you can see you can see outside of the mech. But then you have also screens that show you your mech from outside, maybe with drones or something. And then when you put your arms in these, just like in Pacific Rim, in these, I don't know, energy cable hole
interface
things.
Stuff.
Exactly. And then you can, like, your controller vibrates and you get force feedback, and you can feel when you move, you can feel and you can see on the screens that your mech is also moving accordingly, and everything feels super heavy. That could be very cool.
I want to play that.
Damn. Well,
didn't you mention that, or I don't know who mentioned it, was probably you, that the newest Star Wars Squadrons thing has this cockpit realism emulation with all the buttons and joysticks for VR? Yeah,
I chatted on Facebook with, I think it was it the creative or the game director? And unfortunately, I forgot who exactly I was talking with.
Shame on you.
Yes, I know, but it's been quite a while. But we were chatting on Facebook, and I was asking, what can I expect of this game? Is it going to be more like a realistic simulation for VR, or is it going to be an arcadey thing? And he was saying that it's going to be an in-between. It's going to feel very responsive and arcadey in terms of its gameplay. It's a space shooter that should feel great, but the diegeticness or the how realistic it is set in the game world is going to be realistic. So all the UI elements, there's no UI. Everything is in the cockpit and part of the cockpit.
Diegetic.
Yes. So I'm very, very much looking forward to that. And if someone tells me something like this, then I expect that the interaction with the buttons, with the controls of the pilot is also me interacting with the physical controls.
I'm really eager to play it, because are you actually using the joysticks to do the maneuvers, or are you using your hands to do the, let's say, interactions with the buttons in the cockpit, and you're using your head to fuel the directions or indicate the directions of the way you fly?
I don't know.
You can't really see from the gameplay, and that would be a cool option to see, that wherever you look and you move your head around and you fly to the left or fly to the right.
No, why? No, never. I don't think they would do that. I'm 100% certain you sit inside your cockpit as the pilot, and you control your fighter with the fighter sticks in front of you or whatever you're using.
Okay, yeah.
And you physically grab them. That would be my dream. That would be what would make the most sense, I'd say. Maybe using the sticks on your controllers to accelerate or something.
But then again, pushing the knob forward or the joystick forwards to accelerate the speed is one of the gear shifting fantasies, basically, of flying a spaceship. So it would be cool to accelerate diegetically.
I expect the controlling of the ship to be very left-handed or heavily left-handed. So there you have the stick where you control the direction of the, like if you go down or upwards or to the left or to the right, or if you're rolling. And on the right hand, you will probably have all these, like what you said, the thruster, where you pull up this lever to the front to increase thrust, or you have these buttons that maybe set off bombs or this kind of stuff. So this is what my feeling would be, or what I would be expecting just fantasy-wise.
So basically the one hand is always like the anchor point for all the interactions. And the other is the free hand that is doing the interactions with everything else.
Like one hand is I would say the weaker hand of someone. You can probably configure if you're left or right-handed. Is always going to be on the stick, and it's always going to control just like the left stick on a controller.
With the wrist movements indicating it, yeah, you could see that.
Yeah.
If you think about it, in Alex, it's kind of the similar that you always have your gun in the right hand or your tool in the right hand, and you have the other hand that is not your strong aiming hand, is the one that is free flowing and doing all the interactions.
The pulling in, all the kind of stuff. Yeah,
always have this anchor point, or how do you say it? I don't know.
Maybe now we say it.
Leading hand, secondary hand. I don't know. There's probably a term for it.
Maybe, yeah, I guess. But everyone who's listening knows what we are talking about.
For sure.
And then there were a lot of trailers. I mean, we don't really talk about like news anymore because we want to focus on design topics. But there were so many trailer drops this today actually, or yesterday. All the DC stuff, all the Suicide Squad game
from the DC event, yeah.
Holy moly, the Suicide Squad game was in the works for 6 years.
And will be for at least another 1.5 years.
Yeah, that's a crazy long development time. And this is probably going to be amazing, right? Hopefully. The trailer looked good.
Yeah, but it was a heavily scripted CG trailer.
Yes.
So let's see how the gameplay looks like. If it's any indication of how the gameplay is from the CG trailer, then it could be very cool. Open world Metropolis, and then play as one of your favorite Suicide Squad members. I'm actually interested to see if there's gonna be more than these 4 they show, more playable characters, or are those like your set 4 main characters similarly to the other game? It's kind of weird because they're kind of similar. Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, and Gotham Knights, which is also co-op. All of them are 4-player co-op, or you play a single player offline, and both games have kind of the same premise in the same universe, so it's interesting.
Yeah, I was just about to ask if we already know what the gameplay loop is going to be. Is it going to be Left 4 Dead style co-oping? Or like, do we know what the game is about? Or could it also be...
It's being heavily speculated that Suicide Squad game is going to be a lot like a third-person Borderlands-ish, a superhero Borderlands. You have your squad and have to take down the bosses of the Justice League.
But it's just there's nothing yet. It's just rumors, or assuming.
Yeah, just rumors for the gameplay.
Okay.
But they showed gameplay for Gotham Knights, and that is you control similarly to Arkham City basically. One of the characters of the Bat family, Nightwing, how are the others called? Batgirl, Robin, and always forget the fourth, Red Bat or so. I don't know.
No idea.
all the DC fans are gonna hate me for it.
I'm not at all in the DC world. I just recognized. Is this Injustice? Is that Injustice Superman, or is it the Superman, or is it? I don't know. Is that the Hydra Superman, or?
I think it's a good question.
I am not up to.
Hydra is, by the way, Marvel Universe.
Okay. Well, I read a lot of comic books, but none of the Marvel or DC Universe ones. I just mainly read things like Magic Order, which is amazing, by the way. Whoever is listening, please check out the comic book, The Magic Order.
Mm-hmm.
And I love these kind of like mystery, dark, magic kind of comics, and not so much the superhero stuff.
The superhero stuff, yeah. But Gotham Knights, to close it out, is for sure a beat 'em up third person thing with like abilities similarly to how the Arkham games played, and then you with your squad of mates are basically running around Gotham and punching bad guys and doing missions. That's basically the loop of it. And you level your characters, and then you can unlock customization stuff and new abilities, I guess.
Yeah, reminds me of this zombie game that we played. What was the name of that game? The zombie, not Left 4 Dead, the other one. We played that. We got it for free on Epic.
I'm blacking out. World War Z?
World War Z? Yeah, I think World War Z that movie?
Yeah, they made a game from the movie. Yeah, we played that one. That was more like a third-person shooter-ish. And this one looks like the Arkham games, really.
Okay, so very satisfying, snappy, telegraphed combat.
Snappy, I'm not sure. From what I've seen from the gameplay, might be snappy, but looked really free-flowing and like very impactful beat 'em up melee combat stuff with fist-based and stuff. At least what I saw from fist-based combat.
The innuendos today are off the charts.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I think they only showed gameplay sections of Batgirl and not the others. At least I didn't see any from the other characters. But it's interesting that the reaction to both reveals, even though I liked what I saw in both games, a lot of the Twitter community, which can also be very toxic, was very, at least the top comments I saw were very like, oh, why don't they let us play Batman? I don't want to play as the lesser characters. And the same for the Justice League announcement, where at the end you see evil Superman, and the top comments were mostly like, oh, not again, evil Superman. Why can't we have the real Superman? And there were a lot of those comments, which I find quite surprising.
I don't know. I'm not into... Like, I watched all the Marvel movies, of course, and most of the DC Universe movies, but I never understood that insane hype for superhero stuff. For example, I love Doctor Strange. I'm a huge Doctor Strange fan. This is amazing. But all the like generic Captain America shit, where there's this one dude who was genetically modified to be a super strong patriot. Come on. What is this
Super
even?
Soldier.
What is this narrative? It's just almost offending narrative.
I mean, the original ideas from those are dating back almost 80 years ago in the 40s. So that's...
Yeah, I know. But why is it still so popular?
I've always had this one theory why superhero movies are that popular, because there are so many different characters for them, and there's one hero in there for everybody.
Yeah.
No matter your taste, you will find one of the heroes and one of the people you can see as your idealized version of yourself, in a sense. So
Doctor Strange.
That could be one of the reasons. Yeah. You could be the eccentric mage, similarly to what you play in the Dark Eye. So
Oh yeah. Oh, that's true. Oh yeah, when is our next session? I totally didn't have that on my radar. This Friday? Next okay.
Yeah, in 6 days.
Well, I think we need to discuss our pen and paper appointments on the podcast, but it's really fun to be able to. How many years have we tried to get a regular D&D group going?
Well, we tried it in Munich, but failed.
Yeah,
because we moved away.
Shame on you. Shame on me.
But now, I don't know. Now with the Corona times, everyone has more time at home, and now it's more easy to get a remote group going, or the commitment for keeping it remote for now. I guess.
And maybe a little bit off topic. Sorry to everyone who's listening, but I really, really, really like the new Batman trailer.
The movie one.
Yeah, the movie. I know. It's not a game, but this is always what I wanted. This is why I love the Arkham games so much, because you can finally be that. This is how I picture it. He's a vigilante. He goes around. He gets into a rage fit, and he exacts revenge in a brutal way, literally killing everybody. And just that one shot in the trailer where he's attacked by this.
I am vengeance.
By this gang of goons, and he fucks up the first guy. He demolishes him. And then he's on the ground and he goes down and he just punches him another 5 times or something. And this is how I picture Batman. That's just a young Batman, rage-driven.
Oh, that could spark a really heated discussion with a lot of Batman fans who admire Batman for being the superhero who never kills and is always only knocking them out.
No, that's fine. This is actually this is canon. This is in lore because the Batman in the movie is portraying the general setting of Gotham at the time is portraying early Batman and early Gotham. So Batman was still same in the comics, was still a very hot-headed young male, and he's still growing to become this heroic savior of Gotham.
From vigilante to hero.
Exactly. So he's still in this very early stages. So we're gonna see a lot of Kylo Ren style developments from like angry angst and not being able to handle emotions and getting them into rage towards a more heroic thing. And the penguin is not the penguin yet. He's still, I forgot the name. Edward? Was it Edward? I don't know. And the Riddler as well.
Cobblepot, I think.
Something like that. And the Riddler as well.
Cobblebottom?
Oh, no. I think the Riddler was named Edward Nash.
Oh, yeah, it's the Riddler, not the penguin in the movie, I guess.
So all the villains are also still they're still normal evil people. Normal. They're still evil humans with no special names. They haven't gotten to that part yet. And they're still developing their villain personas as well. So this is actually in canon that Batman is still this emotional wreck.
Yeah, it looks super dark. It's the first time actually that any medium was able to make the Riddler seem very threatening and menacing and creepy as fuck, instead of being this
goofy
leprechaun, laughable, goofy. I don't
leprechaun.
It's always from the color scheme what I have in Jim Carrey-ish persona. What I have in mind when I see the Riddler.
For sure, man.
Green guy in a tweed.
Yeah, with the fucking tights, with the green tights, like Robin Hood.
Yeah. So it's cool to see this psycho guy. I don't know. I'm lacking the English words to describe it properly, but you think you know what I'm going for.
Yeah, for sure. I'm totally that Riddler is my favorite villain, I'd say, just because of its theme, like the mysterious kind of thing. And I wish there was games like that. I don't think we have a game where it is very brutal and gritty and like an action game, but it's also somehow a puzzle game. But not puzzle in the classical term, but more like Riddler. Some entity in the game giving you these hard riddles to solve while there's this violence going on,
In a meta sense, that's Portal.
Wow. There's this. Have you played this Sherlock Holmes game? The new one?
Nope.
That's actually pretty cool. Oh, I wanted to write down that I wanted to play that game. Just give me 1 second. Yeah. I think that looks really cool. It's not an action game, of course, but you go around, try to solve these murders with your exceptional ability to see things or note down things, notice things, and you have to do all of these deductions.
That is the deduction becomes an actual mechanic, you mean?
Yeah.
That would be cool, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
How would that look like, though?
You're standing, imagine it's a little bit like Sean Spencer from Psych, the TV show. So you're standing in front of this character that you're talking with, and then you can essentially pause time and you can look at her, what she's wearing or what is on her. You can see like dust on her arm. So she's probably working in the garden, or her belt is made from leather from Africa. And in that time, this kind of stuff. So these are just like in the movie where there's this...
Sounds like a super zoom feature.
Yeah, where time is essentially freezing and you can analyze the different aspects of her clothing. Or if left hand has no fingernails and the right hand has normal fingernails, then this person plays the guitar, things like that.
Feels a little bit like reading the facial expressions from L.A. Noire, but extended to the whole body and the whole scenery.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, exactly. You do environmental deductions and you do characteristic or character deductions. I think that's very cool. I didn't know L.A. Noire I never played L.A. Noire. So is it like Lie to Me, the TV show where the guy's analyzing? Oh, okay, his left eyebrow was twitching, so he's lying.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to go for. Of course, the tech is, of course, a little bit outdated already. It's from 2009, I think.
Mhm.
But they have this super exaggerated facial expression. So it's kind of obvious if they are lying or if they are angry or if they are happy about something. That also looks kind of creepy because the face tech. But for that time, it was super revolutionary, detailed facial animations and stuff like that. So I imagine that game with the character and face tag from, I don't know, Last of Us 2 or something, from Naughty Dog's facial tag, and then you have to read from the emotions and the subtle context, then that becomes super real.
Mm.
But for LA Noire, which also, by the way, if you would know, has a VR edition, the VR case files, where you hold your detective book on your left hand and can note down, and this functions kind of like your interface, and you are sitting in these interrogation situations as the VR character, basically, as the detective.
Cool. Have you tried it? Does it work well?
I haven't tried it. I saw some gameplay, but the Steam reviews are kind of mediocre, I'd say.
Damn.
Similarly to all the retro-fitted VR ports, basically. Because you can feel that it's not designed for VR from the get-go and retrofitted, but I think it's still a game that would suit itself very well to VR controls when you design it with that in mind.
Just like Dishonored. Goddamn.
Oh, yes.
Dishonored in VR would be so... Yeah, don't get me started. Same. Dishonored in VR would be... From the shadow teleportations to the assassinations, or Hitman as well. Just being able to stab someone in the neck with my, I don't know, magical dagger. Goddamn.
Yeah, half of the mechanics in Dishonored are already perfectly suited for how you interact with the VR world or how you interact with objects or
agreed.
NPC. You have the same pull to yourself mechanic. I'm not sure how it's called, blinging or something. It's like the gravity gloves in Alex. You can grab the NPCs and pull them to you.
Oh goddamn, that would be so cool. And physical pickpocketing. You actually have to walk behind them and reach into their pocket and pull out whatever you can or something. Ah, goddamn.
That's one thing I think is super hard in VR, which hasn't been that satisfying yet because it involves actual physical movement. It's sneaking in VR. That is the one thing that felt kind of weird in my games. I was
really
trying to do it for now. I don't know. I didn't get a great feeling from sneaking around, even though when I'm getting to the ground, just the interaction with the world doesn't feel as smooth anymore. If I don't know, can't really pinpoint it right now.
Yeah, I think generally gaming has been doing and has to change in this regard for VR. They are linking sneaking with crouching, which in real life are two different things. If you sneak in real life, you would never fucking crouch. You would walk. Ninjas walk like that as well. You would be upright, slightly in your knees, and you would walk with the tip of your feet to distribute weight. You wouldn't go crouching because you get louder when you crouch. If you go to your hallway and crouch on the wooden floor, you would be louder because your knees would be knocking everywhere and you're not used to walking like this. But crouching has its own use, getting below things or picking something up or interacting, looking under rugs or whatever. So I think that's the problem. So
for that it's nice. But for forward movement, it's weird.
Skyrim, for example, is probably your sample case for sneaking feeling weird, is because there, sneaking is still linked to the pancake 2D interaction that sneaking is, and that is crouching. So to sneak in Skyrim, you have to crouch down. And of course, that makes no sense. Why would I crouch down in an open area if I just want to be quiet? I would just walk slowly to be quieter.
Yeah.
And I think as soon as the VR games come out that are actually made for VR, then we're going to see a change in these kind of mechanics to be more realistic or immersive.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree. There's no good sneaking yet, or no sneaking that feels good in VR games. So be the change you want to see.
Be the change you want to see. Indeed.
Hitman would be really, really, really cool.
Yeah, they announced it for Hitman 3.
That there is a VR mode.
Yes. Right now it's PSVR exclusive, but they're for sure gonna put it into Steam VR once it hits Steam, because the PC version is also Epic exclusive, and Epic doesn't have a VR word support thing in their launcher.
Yeah,
So
true.
once it hits Steam, which will be maybe this time next year, half a year after release, I don't know, then we get a PC VR version maybe from Hitman. But first, only PlayStation, sadly.
Okay. Before we close out, was there any updates on the Epic Google situation?
Well, not many, just this one bit of news that apparently there are emails where the Epic Games CEO, Tim Sweeney, was sending like declarations of war in the middle of night towards Apple and demanded special treatment for Epic Games. So there are additional layers coming up to that whole situation.
Classic.
Probably have to wait until this whole lawsuit is over to see what really happened.
All right.
And how it's ending.
Well, I guess that closes out our episode. So I'm just going to say thank you as always, guys, for making us part of your weekly routine. And also, you can look forward to a New Zealand guest coming on very soon.
Teaser.
Haha. And you can support us on our Patreon for $3 a month. We've scrapped all the other tiers, so it's just merely a gesture of buying us a coffee or a alcohol-free beer. But either way, we're thankful that you're here and just listening and hanging out with us.
Yes. And also, if you want to stay in touch with us, you can find us on Twitter at Idiots Industry or on Instagram at Industry Idiots, or click in your podcast player of choice, the episode description, and then get a direct link to whatever we link there. So that's the way to stay in touch. And thank you for staying with us.
As always, bye.
Bye.